Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is brought to you in part by our Patreon page at patreon.com/Gear Network. That's Patreon, patreon.com/Gear Network, GERE Network. While you don't have to do this, if you would like to support us, that is a very easy way to do it. For as little as $2 a month, you can get this podcast as well as all others completely commercial free, as well as exclusive content like Patreon-only podcasts, videocasts, and blogs that are not regularly available on GearNetwork.com or any RSS feed. Your support helps us continue to keep up with upgrades to software, purchase professional equipment, and assist us with production costs. Again, patreon.com/Gear Network. Do it right now for as little as $2 a month.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
From wherever we decide studios, broadcasted live on iTunes, Spreaker, and worldwide, this is the Turnbuckle Talk Radio Podcast with your host, the producer, Pat G. The G stands for gangsta. And now kick back and get ready for the eargasms.
Welcome to a new edition of the TTRP. Pat G, Dan Fury here, Turnbuckle Talk Radio Podcast, brought to you by Gear Network and, of course, GearNetwork.com. Yes, we are recording live during Money in the Bank. Yes, we are watching Money in the Bank on our TV screens with the volume down. Don't judge us, we're wrestling fans. But
I love how all of a sudden we have to say, "Don't judge me, I'm a wrestling fan." Sorry, Tom Segura, but we're not all the R word, as you'd like to say on your podcast. So a little stab at Tom Segura for his comments earlier this week.
Tom Segura and his nonsensical comments.
Oh God, gotta love people, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited to be here, Pat G. I've actually gotten some rest this weekend, so I mean, this should be a good one. I mean, kind of stoked that Money in the Bank is going on. Got a chance to watch that Undertaker Last Ride, and enjoying what the product's been pumping out during the COVID. So.
Oh, absolutely. And today is kind of a little bit of a special episode that we talked about last episode, and that's taking the comic book characters of the Marvel and DC worlds and naming their pro wrestling equivalents.
You know, we talked about this in the last episode of the TTRP. We kind of went off on what Pat G referred to as a tangent.
Yes.
You know, we started talking, and it became more of a real podcast, and not so much us talking about pro wrestling. And then out of that came the seed of pro wrestling and comic books. And then it's like, well, why not? Let's go there. Let's figure out a small list of who would be who in the comic book world in comparison to the pro wrestlers that we see on the screen.
Yeah, and you stated up right away, Captain America being the equivalent to John Cena. And this also brings up the point of, as the WWE has learned during this time to change things up with maybe how they produce matches and make them look more cinematic, so to speak, instead of the camera being behind a group of people setting up for somebody to jump on top of them. We might be changing our things a little bit as well, because there's not a lot of wrestling news going on. It's more topical stuff, so to speak.
Yeah, and I mean, before we went on the air, we were discussing, obviously, The Undertaker, The Last Ride 5-part docuseries, which just debuted on the network, which I highly recommend everyone watch. But as far as the cinematics go, we talked about the fact that, we're silent watching Money in the Bank tonight while we're recording this podcast. But the other thing is tonight's Money in the Bank match was filmed in a cinematic way on top of Titan Tower in, what seems to be one of the most bizarre things to come out of this COVID is these over-the-top cinematic matches, which are now going to be able to take you anywhere. I mean, in my mind's eye, when I think of this match tonight, I almost think of something like John Wick. And we haven't seen the match yet, but I don't see this being the typical 6 cams, stand behind the group of guys as another dude leaps off and they all wait to catch him. And I don't see this being one of these like wide shot, tight shot, camera guy getting sweet chin music during the match and getting run into the cell by accident. I see this being almost shot like an action film, because if there's one thing that the Boneyard match has allowed us to have, if there's one thing that the Firefly Funhouse match and the Ultimate Deletion match that started with the Woken Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt thing that kind of has led us to all this, with the JB production in the background of it, WWE and AEW are both adapting their programming style during this time, their production, to be more cinematic, but also it's doing stuff that is allowing fans maybe a tongue-in-cheek moment that'll get you a good gift. Like this past week, it was Les Sexy Gods versus Broken Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega on AEW Dynamite, and there was this funny part where you see it in a golf cart.
Yep.
Matt and Kenny chasing down Sammy, and I've seen the Super Smash Brothers version of it. I have seen the Grand Theft Auto version of it. I have seen a dozen different variations on Sammy running, like legs pumping, and Kenny and Matt behind him in the golf cart.
Yeah, and Matt just having this hysterical look on his face, and Kenny Omega pointing like the gun fingers, and then Guevara's running, and then turns, and then braces himself just to get hit by the golf cart.
And the best part is there's something fun to me about the way that the production is going, that both WWE, NXT, and I put a slash in there, and AEW is doing, is it's giving them a chance to, during this time, maybe revamp some of the ideas that they've had in the past, or come up with some new ones, and just throw it on the wall and see if it sticks.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is the interesting thing with the Money in the Bank match, which we already know has been already taped and done and everything, and they were going to do it in the cinematic style and whatnot, is it's not just one Money in the Bank match. It's both Money in the Bank matches. So what's going to be interesting... That's cool. Is if they cross each other and you have interactions like Tamina and Nia Jax, who, especially Nia Jax, in the sense that she's fought against men in the Royal Rumble match, or Shayna Baszler, who's a certified badass, crossing paths with the men that are in the men's match.
Yeah, or how hilarious would it be, right, if R-Truth suddenly showed up in the women's Money in the Bank? Because that's one great thing about a character like R-Truth. He's not booked, but he could definitely show up out of nowhere and climb up the ladder and be like, oh wait, wrong match, and run back down the ladder and leave, and you're just like, what just happened here?
Especially with his history with Carmella.
Exactly. And the funny part is that while this was already recorded, they've already done some pretty cool things leading into this match storyline-wise for the guys. And I need to bring up one moment of comedy / hopefully they figure this one out. We've seen ladder matches with big guys before.
Yes.
Right? Big Show has even been involved in a ladder match. As weird as that sounds, a tag team ladder match. And they've reinforced the ladders. Otis trying to climb a ladder but breaking the rungs because he's obviously Otis.
Yeah.
And he's this, and just the look on his face that they were able to capture with the camera, this like so sad, this big lovable oaf,
yep,
who's just like, I broke the ladder. Like, you know, to me, the camera work and the still work that they were able to get with that one facial expression, I now want to see Otis win somehow, some way.
Oh yeah,
you know, it's heavy machinery. Can't one of them operate the crane?
That's
the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah,
they have to be able to figure something out.
And that's what would be funny about that whole thing, because Otis has already said if he wins, he's cashing in on the tag team titles. We've never seen the Money in the Bank briefcase cashed in on anything but the World Heavyweight Championship.
Which, to me, makes it even, you know, because it's always been open-ended. It's a title shot at any time.
Yep.
And if you want to look at it, why not bring prestige to the tag team titles by having those guys go after them on SmackDown? And Otis is one of the most likable characters right now due to the storyline that they've created for him, and we've talked about it. And that was a storyline which, although it started during the regular time frame that we were working with, you know, once St. Patrick's Day weekend came, it was all him.
Oh, absolutely.
And the vignettes that were shot, and the matches and the facials that he was able to express that got him a match at WrestleMania Night 2.
Also,
that gave us the cool moment.
Yeah. Also, potentially with Otis getting the briefcase, imagine them trying to cash in on the tag titles on Raw. And imagine the match between Heavy Machinery and the Street Profits. Like, just the hilariousness that would incur.
Now, and let me ask you about Money in the Bank before we get to our comic book character face-off.
Yeah.
Because one of the thoughts that I'm having is, you and I have talked about this, and we don't know when we're going to get live crowds again. According to what I read over the weekend, as far as cities opening up in phases and whatnot, Boston does not plan on having any live events taking place
until
during the summer.
Yep, and they announced that they are not having any major gatherings or anything at least until Labor Day. Okay,
so that kind of shoots down at least SummerSlam in Boston this year.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they'll figure something out. I've even heard some crazy rumor about Hulk Hogan's private beach to actually make it a Summer Slam. You know what I mean?
That's I've actually seen that be toted around, because Hogan having the relationship they do being back with the WWE and everything, and him owning his own private beach area.
Yeah, and since he's a private citizen, he can do whatever he wants on the beach.
Yep.
And Florida has relaxed their standards with WWE. Now, one of the things that comes to mind is whoever wins this Money in the Bank briefcase on the men's or the women's side, why would they need to cash it in a pay-per-view? Imagine it's the first live event that WWE is holding post-COVID, and you cash in Money in the Bank that night.
Yeah. That, especially if it's someone that the people want to win it. Imagine it being Otis winning, and say your tag team champions are Miz and Morrison, and it cashes in. Honestly, Otis and Tucker cashing in on Miz and Morrison for the tag titles would probably have the same kind of crowd reaction that we all saw when Dolph cashed in on Del Rio.
Because we all know that first live event where there's a large capacity crowd, people are going to lose their minds.
That's going to be your makeup for WrestleMania Monday.
Yeah. And for my money, if I were to pick who I'd want to win Money in the Bank tonight, I'd either want it to be King Corbin, dark horse in that one, because he's really come up as a great character.
Absolutely.
Or Otis, because of the tag team factor.
Yeah. The interesting thing with the Money in the Bank match is you have different stories with this. You have different stories because you have Otis looking to win the briefcase so you can have them go after the tag titles. All right.
Right.
The thing is you also have you also have Rey Mysterio, you have Aleister Black, you have AJ Styles making his return, and it's going to be and honestly, my dark horse was King Corbin for this until Styles returned. Because when AJ returned, AJ's now by himself. He doesn't have the OC. Yeah. He no longer has the OC with him due to the releases. So he's back to just being AJ, the phenomenal AJ Styles. And it's going to be interesting to see where they go with him coming back and being the solo act. But yeah, King Corbin being the dark horse, your dark horse, I can understand it because God forbid that man wins the goddamn briefcase.
Yeah, because AJ Styles had such a great match with Undertaker, and I'm going to say that again, a great match. The Boneyard match was awesome.
Oh, it absolutely was.
On paper, when you saw Undertaker versus AJ Styles, you're like, Undertaker is old, and AJ's best days are behind him as well, and is this really the match we want to see? And then you saw it, and you're like, yup. They put enough production into that, and they put enough thought into it, and they gave us a grindhouse style biker versus smartass match.
Yep.
Street fight. That fans almost forgot for a minute that you had a guy in there who has had over 16 surgeries, and another guy who really last year didn't make any huge splashes as far as storylines go. Yeah, AJ had the OC and they did some stuff, but really it wasn't a memorable year for either three men. And Undertaker and that angle being shot the way it was, I agree with you. I think if AJ Styles were to add Mr. Money in the Bank to that would make his run in WWE probably one of the most successful runs of any character that Vince didn't create that came from another promotion.
Oh, absolutely.
I would dare argue that it'd probably be one of the best because he's been Universal Champion, Heavyweight Champion, let's see, Mr. Money in the Bank would be on there. I mean, other than winning the Royal Rumble, which he has yet to do.
Yeah. And there's the Instagram picture the picture that was released by Nakamura going, our story's not done yet.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I've always had a sour taste in my mouth over the way that the Nakamura AJ Styles program went.
Yeah.
The dick kicks.
Yep.
It wasn't. It felt like it was rushed to a certain extent. We knew the foundation was there from Japan for these two, but then it almost was like, okay, the WrestleMania match didn't get the ovation we wanted, so scrap everything. Let's just wrap it up quickly, put a bow on it.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing. When they did the WrestleMania match, that match happened after one of the most draining matches of that WrestleMania card. Yeah,
flat out, Asuka versus Charlotte will go down in the history as one of the top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time.
Yep.
So, to follow that match, yeah, of course. Oh, and that was of the same WrestleMania that gave us the triple threat match, which to me is the best opening match of any WrestleMania now in history, because you had Seth Rollins, The Miz, and Finn Balor opening up the show.
Yep.
And that Intercontinental title match was dank. It was amazing.
Absolutely. And
those were your first two matches.
The interesting thing that I've noticed with WWE, though, is it seems like they're starting to realize that they can't rely on the top tier talent anymore. Is John Cena's gone. Now, Cena's gone on, done movies and everything. He's gone. Roman Reigns is not available due to the whole COVID situation and him having the leukemia and everything, which understandable.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the Brock Lesnar's. You don't have your top tier guys anymore. So it's like you're building people, like you have Drew McIntyre, you have Seth Rollins that you can rely on, but now they've realized that they need to start building more people up to that main event area. And honestly, they've done it with Baron Corbin. They're Aleister Black, who's like my dark horse for this Money in the Bank match, is, I feel like if Aleister Black was to win this, it would catapult him.
Yes. Aleister Black right now, and we discussed this when we did our pseudo WrestleMania rewind, but we really didn't want to get into it because it had been beaten to death. And the cinematic ability of having a Undertaker versus Sting match, and maybe incorporating people like an Aleister Black into it, like a Bray Wyatt, like a Demon King Finn Balor. He is so good at athleticism, connecting with the audience. He's metal. You know what I mean? He's extremely metal. And there is that trend of liking those kind of guys. And his entrance at WrestleMania could have been so much cooler had they had production behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Where if you were to have him win the title, okay, this is all hypotheticals. If you were to have him win the title, he could go up against a Bray Wyatt. Like, imagine if Bray gets the title back and all of a sudden Aleister Black shows up on SmackDown, kicks his face off as Bray Wyatt, not The Fiend. And then he's like, I didn't come, takes the title and is like, okay, now that I have your attention, I'm here for The Fiend.
Yeah.
And then you have Aleister Black versus The Fiend. And it's like, The Fiend draws on people's dark sides. He retools everyone in order to be what he wants them to be or what they once were. Okay? So if
exactly.
Black is
and this is the good thing is, and it relates to the thing that I sent you like a couple of months ago, where like it was broken down, like breaking down what how the Fiend works and what he does. Like with Finn Balor, he faced Balor, and Balor reverted back to being the Prince, and Seth Rollins reverted back to being the egotistical, narcissistic asshole, so to speak, and whatnot. And I'm like, that's the thing. Like, Aleister Black lives in the dark and shadows.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing light about him.
And that's the thing, is he's the you rewind it back, he's the one waiting for the knock at the door.
Yep.
He wants the fight, and he is the darkness. So really, what are you going to do? The Fiend fixes people. Okay, so if this guy is 100% comfortable living in the shadows and living in the darkness and being this evil not even evil, just harnessing the evil for good, right? In the similar fashion as a Demon King Finn Balor is for Finn, except instead of wearing it once in a while and putting it on like a suit, Aleister Black wears it all the time. If that's the character you're going against, if you're the Fiend, what do you have to fight? Like, it's evil versus evil. It's just different variations of that. And then you add the play of the Money in the Bank briefcase. Bray Wyatt, Funhouse Bray Wyatt, Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt, is susceptible to loss, as we've seen. He can be beat up.
Yes.
The Fiend has only been beaten by one person.
Yep.
And even then, his greatest victory may have come right afterwards with the Firefly Funhouse by stripping John Cena of his
of everything. Yeah.
And for me, as a fan, I'm excited to see this because you're right. This is not what you would consider top tier, and I hate to even use that terminology. This isn't the top tier guys fighting for the title or the right to be in the title, but it's all guys that have a potential of being the top tier guys.
Yeah, and an interesting thing is with Bray Wyatt and The Fiend and everything, to segue into a little bit, is the amount of attempts that certain people get in the WWE that come from wrestling lineage. And because I listened to one of the most recent podcasts with Arn Anderson, and he talked about how he couldn't understand how Joe Henning never got the opportunity to make something of himself, coming from the pedigree of Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect and everything. Because obviously he had the skill in the ring. He had the ability to wrestle. It's one of the things of, and I bring this up because the SmackDown Women's Championship matches is on, and it's Tamina Snuka, the daughter of Jimmy Snuka, and it's like, now you think about that, you look at the actual lineage of people in WWE that come from wrestling families, and you actually look and go, you know what? That's kind of right. Some people get opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to make something, but other people just get pushed to the wayside.
Lineage does not necessarily mean you're going to have a great run.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There are some people where obviously it's a hindrance to have that name. In the FCW documentary that they released on the network, they talk about Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah.
Rick Steamboat.
Yeah, Richie.
And how Richie just couldn't get that footing. And it wasn't that he wasn't talented, he couldn't get it. He was facing it. Also, he had injuries left and right too. Yeah, and the motorsports that he was involved in probably didn't help.
Yeah.
The toll that takes on the body, people don't seem to think about. And then, of course, they talk about Shaw Guerrero, who could always come back to WWE at any time. She's got that ability. But there are some that just, they don't make it. They might have the pedigree. Scott Hall's son has been wrestling for years now, and he's not Cody, and he's not made it up.
Yeah.
There are some dudes that, they get there, and it's almost like a blank check.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, I only brought it up because the Tamina being in the match, and a lot of people are going, why is Tamina getting a shot? Her matches are boring and all this and everything. I'm like, because you know what? Tamina's one of them people that, granted, she's had injury issues and everything. Tamina's one of those prototypical do what I'm gonna do what I'm told and do it to the best of my ability, and eventually I'm gonna get appreciated for it. And this, I kind of put it to this: her getting this opportunity is just the people in charge going, "Hey, you've done what we've asked you to do. You've done it to the best ability. Here you go."
Yeah, and Tamina came in, and this is something, I have defended her against unpopular opinions by some. That, I mean, look at her. She doesn't even look like when she showed up in.
No, she doesn't.
No, okay. She's also had knee surgeries. She's also damaged her back. Yeah, of course she doesn't look the same way. If I looked the same way I did 10 years ago, I'd hate myself because, dude, I was 260 pounds and I wasn't healthy as hell. 10 years before that, yes, I was even a different shape. I was 180 pounds. You as a person, you change. She's had a lot of injuries. She's had to push through it, and in pushing through it, she's still maintained. She's still on the roster.
Yeah.
She's still someone that you like to see. I mean, her and Lacey Evans, didn't they just win a tag team match on SmackDown not too long ago?
Yeah.
This week, right?
Yeah. This past Friday.
Which puts her back on the map as being a wrestler that you want to see in that main event spot.
Yeah. Also, because we speak about the Fiend every time, I'm waiting for the time that they pull the Bray Wyatt is in front of you, Fiend is behind you thing, using Bo.
Oh, does Bo still have the long hair, or could we get a Violent J from Insane Clown Posse mask and a dreadlock thing going on?
Bo still has the long hair as far as I know.
I think it could work. I mean, I'm waiting for that disciple gimmick to eventually show up, because wouldn't it be hilarious to have Bo be the mailman that comes to deliver packages like Mr. McFeely was for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
Yes. Yeah. I'm seriously waiting for that. Like, that's what I'm waiting for, is because now with Curtis Axel being released, you no longer have the B team. He's got nothing going on.
Yeah.
Putting him with his brother, I honestly feel would be the best thing for him.
Absolutely. And the cool part about it is, this also gives us, this COVID has given us an opportunity to maybe redo some of the booking that it's tough to see a lot of these guys go, because I love the OC, I love Rusev.
Oh yeah,
who's now on Twitch as a Twitch gamer.
Yep,
pretty cool.
Speaking of that, it has now become kind of a build, like a group build or whatever. And I'm gonna give it all up to Xavier Woods as being the patriarch of that whole thing. But it's now seen that a lot of wrestlers are starting to do the whole Twitch gaming thing, due to all the interactions that you've had with Up, Down, Down and everything. Paige, Rusev, Renee Young, among others, are getting into that whole thing.
And I mean, Rhonda has been doing Mortal Kombat tournaments online for charity for the last several weeks.
Yeah, she just they just released a video of her playing World of Warcraft of all things.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Manganiello of Magic, I can't believe I'm about to say this on a wrestling podcast, of Magic Mike fame, he danced with Kevin Nash, so it's the 6 degrees of separation from pro wrestling, is offering for charity for you to be in one of his Dungeons and Dragons matches.
Yes.
Or campaigns. But see, the funny part about that is that you're not just playing with a bunch of regular random Dungeons and Dragons players, you're playing with the Big Show.
Yeah.
Is one of regulars. You've got, oh my God, who else is, it's like a who's who of celebrities that play, and Joe Manganiello is the dungeon master. So if you can imagine you're sitting next to the Big Show, playing right between the Big Show and Dana Carvey, at Joe Manganiello's house when, Sophie, his wife from Modern Family, is coming in to see how everyone's doing and bringing you snacks and running out. It would be the most bizarro thing. But it's like, this is the weird world we live in when, Xavier Woods starts a wrestling YouTube, a video game YouTube channel where wrestlers are now becoming celebrities in video gaming from it, and we still at one point saw the Elite versus the New Day.
Yeah, in Street Fighter.
It's like, I really don't know how to explain other than good for Rusev. At least he's doing something now.
Yeah.
Instead of, it might be his way of staying relevant, so when the company finally gets back on its feet, it's like, all right, get back here, dude. Get back to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's funny about all this is you have all these wrestlers and actors and celebrities and doing into different things, and here we are on a wrestling podcast about to go through a list of comic book heroes and give them their wrestling equivalent. So, as we stated last week, Steve Rogers, Captain America, is John Cena. Plain and simple. There's out that. You said you had some good ones. I'm curious as to what you have on your list.
So, we all have our niche comic books. We all have our favorites. So I need to preface this right off the bat. The Rock cannot be Black Adam on my list because he's going to be Black Adam in the movie. And Drax the Destroyer is in fact Dave Bautista in real life. So Dave Bautista can't be Drax in this one for me. So I have to do that one. I'm sorry. It's just got to be a thing. So first and foremost, I'm going to go with The Undertaker as Spawn from Image Comics. Now, one of my favorite Undertaker entrances was, WrestleMania 14, and you had the Druids, but you had the Undertaker debut the sleeveless coat that had the giant, what a lot of people referred to as the Dracula fan behind his head that stuck way above his noggin.
Yeah.
And I looked at that the first time he started walking down to the ring, and I'm like, he's Spawn. He comes from hell. He has lightning at his disposal, where Spawn had chains and the cape that protected him. It's the look. It's the whole darkness theme. To me, when I see The Undertaker, I see Spawn.
You know what? It's funny that you say Undertaker, because my pick for Spawn was Aleister Black.
Really?
Yep. Because
now tell me why.
When Aleister Black came out for WrestleMania this year, and he had the coat and he had the shoulder pads and everything, it was one of them things of him always being in the darkness and everything, and this was reverting back to before Spawn, like when Spawn went to hell. Okay, they whatever, like he got in hell. This was when he was like trying to get himself back through the door to reality, back to like being on Earth, and it's not so much the actual comic book. It was more along the lines of the movie, so to speak. Is when he's in hell and he's trying to earn his way back to getting back to Earth and everything. That's what I feel like it is Aleister Black's always waiting for that fight on the door, that knock on the door for a fight, but he's constantly living in the darkness. He's got to wait for somebody to bring him back. And it's just one of them things of Spawn lived in the darkness so much that he knows what that darkness is. He has it inside him, and he's doing everything he can to not let it take over. And when Aleister Black cut that promo of, I'm no longer going to wait for someone to knock on my door, I'm going to bring the fight to them, I was like, yo, that's Spawn going back to Earth and going, hey, I'm bringing the fight to all you bad motherfuckers that keep messing up everybody.
Ooh, Pat G busting out the swear word this week. I have to be believed.
Yes.
All right. So that we have our Spawn. Okay. That's that, and I like that we're not starting with either DC or Marvel because it's extremely hard to kind of pick and choose. But if we're gonna go to someone in the Marvel universe, my Iron Man would be Cody Rhodes. And the reason I say he would be Iron Man is that he's always dressed in a very sleek suit. He always speaks with these $5 words in his promos. He always has a clear and conciseness to it, but he always says it, even if he's a good guy, with this cocky attitude. Like Tony Stark, when Tony Stark knows that he's the smartest person that there is, and he knows that you know he's the smartest person, and he still tries to talk to you like an equal, but then you get the feeling like, no, he's just talking slow enough so I understand what he's saying. And to me, the AEW as a company is like his suit of armor, in that he built it, and it's his way of protecting the wrestling world from only being seen through one or two lenses. That's his suit of armor. So, Iron Man, Cody Rhodes.
Did you like send a spy into like my laptop or something and steal my list?
No, it's probably the same people that keep telling me, yo, first off, where's my belt, WWE? Yo, I want my Bray Wyatt belt. I don't care if it's 7 Gs. And no, I'm not spying on you. And if my FBI agent is listening in my cell phone, I'm not spying on him either.
Because I had Cody Rhodes as Iron Man as well, and pretty much the similar reasons as you did.
Nice. See, it's very difficult for me to look at him and not see Tony Stark, because just the way he walks in. At the same time, you know, I can look at, you know, many people would say Triple H would be like Conan or something, right? I don't see him as Conan the Barbarian at all.
No.
I see him as Lex Luthor.
Absolutely.
Because to me, although the Skull King is, the King of Kings, the Conqueror, is a very cool gimmick, and it sells action figures. Trust me, I have enough of them in my collection. It's Triple H with the bald head and the beard in the suit that is more intimidating.
Yep.
And while a lot of people remember Lex Luthor as being, you know, the Gene Hackman criminal mastermind wearing a scarf, listening to Liberace records, Lex Luthor was a formidable fighter, which is why when he started making the mech suits and the alterations to his own DNA, he became even more deadly to Superman, because he could with kryptonite steroid injections fight Superman and win, which is scary when you say that. Triple H to me comes off as that maniacal businessman character that can still beat your ass in a business suit. It just so happens he also could be the Skull King biker dude.
Oh, absolutely. Now, staying within the realm of Marvel, and Marvel is, I'm looking at one of the characters that everybody loves or ever, and that's Deadpool. Now, Deadpool to me is someone that obviously he's sarcastic. Will always has a crackback at you, but is able to hold his own in a fight, and is perfectly fine not being the so star of the show. He's kind of like a one-man army, so to speak. And honestly, Deadpool to me in wrestling is similar to Chris Jericho, because Jericho always has some kind of comeback, and he's always been able to hold his own by himself. Whether he's been aligned with someone or he's been in a group, he's always been someone that, hey, I can roll by myself if need be, but I can have friends when I need them, kind of like Deadpool with X-Force and the X-Men. Like Jericho, just by the pure ability to constantly come up with something to say back to someone, and the quote-unquote breaking of the fourth wall to an extent at times is my equivalent to Deadpool.
See, that is a very good pick. I didn't even put Deadpool on my list, and I probably should have, because, he's his character is in the psyche of American fans and worldwide. I actually, if I was going to pick a healing mutant, I picked Wolverine was on my list. Of course, Wolverine had to be on my list.
Of course, Wolverine had to be on your list.
If Wolverine wasn't on my list, I expected someone to walk to my door and kick me in the dingle nuts. But if I were to pick someone to be Wolverine within the confines of the wrestling universe, now mind you, we have to take out of all of this that, yes, we all know Wolverine is a 5'4" Canadian that weighs 300 pounds because his skeleton is soaked in chrome-dipped adamantium. I get it. We're going to ignore that for 5 minutes. We're going to go with attitude, we're going to go with look, and we're going to go with just his demeanor of, I am the best at what I do, and what I do is not always nice. Mm-hmm. Jon Moxley.
Yeah, I have no problem with it.
Because Jon Moxley coming out in jeans, a wife beater, a leather jacket, an Indian head belt buckle, and a pair of shit-kicking boots to just fight, knowing he could lose, because Wolverine didn't win every fight.
No, he didn't.
He took a point-blank shotgun blast from the Punisher. He's been mutilated. He's had his adamantiums pulled out of his body. He's been crushed by Juggernaut. He's been drowned. He's been shot. He's had, mountains pretty much fall on top of them. He's just that dude who will take a swig of the whiskey and say, okay, let's do it, bub. Jon Moxley is that guy.
Yes. Now, my next pick was still in the realm of Marvel, and that being Vince McMahon being the equivalent of the Kingpin.
Ooh, fudge. Throw it at me. How did you come to this one?
So, thanks to Disney Plus, I've been rewatching the Spider-Man series of 1994, the animated cartoon, and which honestly had the best portrayal, and then mixed in with the beginning of the Spider-Man video game, which are... Yes. And then also mixed in slightly with the Michael Clark Duncan version from Daredevil. Those are my top 3 portrayals of Kingpin of all time, outside of the actual comic book. And I got to when Kingpin put together the Sinister Six.
Yes.
And I was watching this and I'm going, yo, this is Vince McMahon when he was showing everybody his right hand, save Stephanie from The Undertaker, and then on the left hand going, I'm running the whole damn show. If Vince McMahon the Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon character is the Kingpin in the sense of he's so methodical with how he builds things and how he approaches things that he will only get physical when he absolutely needs to. Which the Kingpin did. The Kingpin will get physical, but only when it's the last effort in all of his plans. Vince McMahon only gets physical when he absolutely has no other choice. All his other plans and ideas and minions and everything has failed. Case in point, going back to St. Valentine's Day Massacre when he faced Austin in the cage match. And he still had that, and being the Kingpin that he is, he still had that ace up his sleeve, aka the Big Show coming through the ring. So, in like the comic book world sense, Vince McMahon is the Kingpin. Because, yes, while Vince McMahon has been defeated at times throughout the history in wrestling, he's still the guy at the top, in the top of the tower, looking over everyone. Like the Kingpin does so many times. You can defeat the Kingpin over and over, but yet he always comes back, and yet he's always in the top of the building, looking over everything.
And, I think Kingpin, the Michael Clark Duncan representation of Kingpin was good. Daredevil, I liked the Daredevil movie. A lot of people didn't. It was good for its time. We were just starting to get really good comic book movies out at the time. Vincent D'Onofrio's Netflix representation shows that mastermind manipulator better.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the Into the Spider-Verse version of Kingpin really was well done. The fact that he was the main villain, it wasn't Green Goblin.
Yeah, it was the Kingpin was the main villain, which was nice.
And I'll agree, Vinnie Mac, even at 72 years old, would probably punch someone in the face. Definitely. So, next on my list, I didn't even think of Kingpin. I did think of our big green friend.
Oh, of course.
The Incredible Hulk. Or as I'm going to refer to him as, the Incredible Braun. Because while some would say, why not Brock Lesnar? Brock Lesnar's more of a doomsday. Okay, there's no good guy bone in Brock Lesnar's body.
Not at all.
When it comes to little kids, Brock Lesnar's doomsday. Okay, yeah. He kills everything in his path. You can stop him maybe once every couple of years, but when he comes back, he's going to rip you in half and destroy half of the DC universe. But the Incredible Hulk to me is Braun Strowman, because when Braun wants to smash, Braun does, in fact, smash. He's flipped over ambulances. He's flipped over Titantrons. He's, gotten hit by a Mack truck while in the back of an ambulance and just walked it off.
Yeah.
Okay? And
I love how we're talking about Braun right now, and Braun's in a match against Bray Wyatt right now.
Is he beating up Bray Wyatt?
He was, but then the pig showed up and the tables got turned.
Oh, damn, Huskus, how dare you. I had such faith in you, Huskus. By the way, I love Huskus. I want a Huskus t-shirt. But I digress. The Incredible Hulk, while he was a mindless killing machine, or not killing, well, no, he probably killed a lot of army people when he was trying to hide from them. But anyway, his representation over the years is he's been everything from just mindless rage, growing bigger and smashing everything in sight, to being Professor Hulk, to being Gray Hulk, Green Hulk, Planet Hulk, where he was the warrior that we saw represented in Thor Ragnarok.
Yes.
There are all sorts of variations of the Hulk, but at the end of the day, when I see Braun take his finger and he whips it in the air and he just starts running around the ring, shoulder tackling anything that moves, I think of the Incredible Hulk being told to just smash. And smashing.
Yep, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Now, my next one that was on the list kind of might throw you off a little bit. And that would be the Wonder Twins.
Wow, are we going straight Super Friends? Okay, give me your Wonder Twins.
My Wonder Twins are the Young Bucks.
Yes!
Because with the Wonder Twins by themselves are great, but when they're together, they're pretty much unbeatable. And that's how I view the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks have never been with WWE, nor really had any interest in being with WWE or whatever. But the Young Bucks have proved that even separate, they can hold their own. But together, sometimes they're damn near unbeatable. And that's how I viewed the Wonder Twins.
When they were able to have something other than form Hawk, form Bucket, it was always lame. Okay,
yes.
The cartoon.
Yeah.
But when you see the Wonder Twins in action in the comic books,
yep.
They complement each other very well.
Oh, absolutely.
And the cool part is that DC has had such a range with their characters. They've had such an opportunity to expand their universe that when they do multiverse stories or whatnot, you get a chance to see what these characters are able to do. The Wonder Twins, when it comes to the DC lore, very much have carte blanche to do some cool stuff. Kind of like Green Lantern. Green Lantern has this ring where he's able to use it and do stuff with it, or any member of the Corps, whatever color. And all of a sudden, instead of doing a jet plane, Green Lantern is doing a mech suit around himself and he's punching people through moons. That's the Wonder Twins. And the Young Bucks, as you alluded to, when Nick and Matt are in lockstep, absolutely an unbeatable team.
Absolutely. And what's funny is, you know what? People are going to probably listen to this and go, who the hell are the Wonder Twins? And look it up and then discover the awesomeness of the Wonder Twins.
You're welcome, by the way. And speaking of Green Lanterns and the people involved with them, so I have a wrestler and a Lantern member on my list.
All right.
But it is not a Green Lantern. It is a Yellow Lantern, and it is Sinestro, leader of the Yellow Lantern Corps, which is yellow is the weakness of the Green Lantern Corps, and they're really they're villains, one of the set of villains in the universe. And to me, it would only be befitting that Sinestro, who really in the comic books helped Hal Jordan realize his potential as being the greatest Green Lantern of all time, and was his mentor and ushered in a cool era of cosmic superhero stories, would be none other than CM Punk. Because if you look at what CM Punk did between 2011 and 2014, his style on the microphone, as well as his in-ring performance, and the way that he was as a heel, granted during that time frame he was one of the most loved performers in the company, and merchandise sales even beat, The Rock and John Cena at times. Really, his best work was when he's on the microphone as a villain. Oh, absolutely. And, his run against The Undertaker leading into WrestleMania 29 was flawless stuff. I always viewed CM Punk as being like the Sinestro, in that the Green Lanterns are the good guys that willpower is what runs their ring, and meanwhile fear is what controls the Yellow Lanterns. And I love the idea of him being kind of that in charge, like the one thing that the mainstream wrestling machine fears is like the crowd choosing these guys that maybe aren't the archetype. And clearly Punk was not the archetype, much like he was not the archetype leader of the Green Lantern Corps and went off to form his own. So I would pick CM Punk, Sinestro of the Yellow Lantern Corps.
Solid. Now, this one might catch you off guard a little bit. and that would be Dick Grayson / Robin / Nighthawk back to Dick Grayson. And kind of my equivalent to him is Seth Rollins. Because Seth Rollins started off Tyler Black on the independents and everything, kind of learning the ropes, and so to speak, and was by himself. And then when he got to WWE, he got put into the formation of the Shield. And I attribute that to kind of the Robin aspect of it. Because even though he had the talent and everything, he's learning the WWE way. And then when he turns and joins the Authority, that's your Nighthawk phase, because he was out to prove to everyone that he was the guy. Like, he could do it on his own.
So that was Nightwing going to Bloodhaven.
Yes.
Is what you're saying is when Seth Rollins stepped away and won Money in the Bank. That was Nightwing in Bloodhaven trying to prove he could make it without Batman's help.
Yep.
Okay.
And like just the whole aspect of Dick Grayson and everything. And you look at the WWE story of Seth Rollins, it kind of falls in suit at times. And everything, because he's like, he was part of the and everything, and then he's like, okay, I can do this on my own, I don't need you. And then he realized he couldn't do it on his own and went back.
I like it. I think that it's a really good idea. I wouldn't have pictured Seth Rollins as being Dick Grayson, but now that you mention it and now that you built a pretty good case on it, I see where you would get that. I mean, he's got the acrobatic skills and the offense of a Dick Grayson Nightwing, and the stature definitely, because Dick Grayson's Nightwing was never the size and power of Batman. So I could definitely see where that would be a very good case. I'm strangely on board with accepting Nightwing Dick Grayson as Seth Rollins.
All right, on a side note, because they just ran the hacker of WWE had a little bip on Money in the Bank. What would your reaction be if the hacker turned out to be CM Punk?
My reaction would be, I would lose my cookies. I would love it.
Because,
now, mind you,
because the promo that they just ran, and the hacker's like in front of and looking in the screens, I didn't really catch all of it, but I saw Daniel Bryan, I saw Kofi Kingston as the main two, and then the truth will be heard thing. And people are alluding everybody, there's the people that are going, hey, the hacker's probably going to be Mustafa Ali because whatever. But then there's the people out there going, well, if the truth is going to be heard, who's the guy that talks all the truth all the time? That's CM Punk. Like,
which is what I would go with if a deal has been made.
Yes.
Now, they could be throwing everyone off by saying it might be a very long time before CM Punk is in a WWE ring again. Which may be the case. We could just be hoping it's CM Punk and it ends up being someone else. I personally would love it to be CM Punk, because could you imagine if CM Punk looked up and said, the only reason that Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston got their WrestleMania moments is because I left?
Truthfully, because I looked up and those were the two main images on the screen that I caught. I didn't catch everything else. And it was Kofi and Daniel Bryan, and then going, the truth will be heard, and I'm going, yo, this would be sick if it was CM Punk.
I'd pay to see it. I would definitely pay to see CM Punk return and come to SmackDown. And I think because of his deal with Fox, I think it would be more likely for him to show up on Fox.
On SmackDown.
On SmackDown.
Yep.
The only thing about that is that ruins any opportunity at this current point in time for a Monday Night Messiah versus CM Punk match, because I think that's tailor-made. Like, hey, you can't even come up with your own merchandise. You're stealing mine. Unless
that because WWE has over the last few years been very lenient with certain contracts, is they worked out a deal and Punk's not assigned to a show. He's just, I have a contract. But sure. Now Punk, maybe Punk doesn't come out and with the whole best in the world cult of personality thing. He goes back to the straight edge society type deal with the speaking all truths, and he goes after everyone that has benefited from him leaving and or has ripped him off.
Which would be similar to what Chris Jericho did when he came back as the light-up jacket Chris Jericho to go against CM Punk at WrestleMania 28.
Yes.
He was killing wannabes.
Yes.
Which were your Kofi Kingstons, your Miz's, and really, if you think about it, the people that came after CM Punk who were lightweight, heavyweight fighters, essentially. You know what I mean? Like your dudes who were in the main event who were under 200 pounds.
Yep.
Which would not have happened unless CM Punk did it first.
Yeah, your guys that are the lighter heavyweight fighters, your Kofis, your Daniel Bryans, your Seth Rollins, and all that.
Your Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is only just over 200 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that to me would definitely be something to consider as a fan. I'm all for it.
And I'd be fine with it, especially with the fact that Kevin Owens has the knee injury that's been only reported, but we're not sure how long he's going to be out. Like, just the simple influx of CM Punk into WWE. Oh my God. But I also look at it as if it is CM Punk, if CM Punk's going to end up being the hacker, it's a lot of people out there are going to go, well, it's WWE, their ratings are suffering, they need a punch in the throat.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of talk because of the ratings on Monday night and on SmackDown. Really, we've talked about this. The ratings are down, but everything is down right now. You know what I mean? So it's not really, you shouldn't be pulling rabbits out of hats to try and make fans come back to a show that really they don't need to be rushing back to, because it's not an easy way. It's not an easy thing to fix. It's not like there's one thing in particular to get the ratings back up. CM Punk, though, would be a ratings juggernaut.
Oh, yeah.
On SmackDown.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think if he went to Raw, he'd get lost in the sauce.
Oh, yeah. I feel if the hacker is Punk, like a lot of people are hoping that it is, kind of quote, is he doesn't get assigned to a brand, but he stays on SmackDown predominantly because that's where the hacker thing started, and that's where Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston are.
Yeah. And it seems by the vignettes it's going to be that, so I am all for that tonight. I'm all for them making that decision.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with Daniel Bryan being in the Money in the Bank match. Because a lot of people have based on forums and everything, is the hacker's going to show up tonight and cost somebody the Money in the Bank briefcase, or take it for themselves.
Which would be pretty damn cool if CM Punk suddenly showed up and the first thing he's doing is, the first thing he does when coming back to WWE is winning the Money in the Bank briefcase for a third damn time.
Which no one has done.
A mystery entrant?
Yep. I don't know. I don't think so.
Or have all brackets been filled?
I think all brackets have been filled on the show.
Okay. Because I thought maybe I might have seen it the other day.
Yeah, it's Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio versus King Corbin, Otis, and AJ Styles. Okay. AJ Styles took the place of Apollo Crews.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's still a potential because he could not, someone could knock Daniel Bryan off, and
hell, it could be the Hacker himself. They have the thing of Daniel Bryan gets taken out by somebody, and then all of a sudden, poof.
And since it's already pre-produced, this would be so much in them, so much to do.
Yeah. Like, I'm sitting here, I was like, I was gonna finish it, I was gonna alright, let's finish the comic book thing, we'll be good, and whatnot, and I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden they run the Hanker thing, and I go, wait, that's Kofi and Daniel, and the truth will be heard. I'm like, maybe there's something to the CM Punk nonsense that I've been hearing.
Do you think Hulk Hogan would let CM Punk on his beach?
I don't know.
He doesn't like Hogan. He's been pretty vocal about not liking Hogan.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. We'll have to see. Because it's very intriguing. Because the thing is they've taped all this, and we know that, but they've taken the same approach to this pay-per-view as they did WrestleMania, and it's been very lock and key.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that they've kept very tight-lipped about, and the production is one of those things.
Yeah. So the production of the matches have been very locked and key, because from what I read, when they did the Money in the Bank matches, it was only the competitors and needed personnel.
Yeah, and none of these guys are being very vocal about anything that's been going on behind the scenes. In fact, I think that's one of the best things is you don't have like a Meltzer or anyone reporting on stuff that's going on. They're keeping it hush-hush.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's one of the benefits of this whole COVID situation is a lot of people these companies are keeping a lot of things too close to the vest.
Yeah, I mean, even some of the stuff with AEW and Jericho and all of that stuff that they're doing, I mean, granted, a lot of that Jericho stuff is filmed, at his house even, which is hilarious when you think about it, because you mean to tell me no one took a picture?
Yeah.
No one did a little snapshot? No one? Okay, we're cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice job.
Yeah. So, but that's going to do it for us. That's going to wrap up TTRP this week. We'll be back later this week reviewing Money in the Bank potentially, and talking about all the fallout from the pay-per-view tonight, and previewing what's going on in AEW, because man, they got a hell of a heavyweight championship match coming up for their pay-per-view.
Oof, and it looks like with this ladder match, casino ladder match, one of our predictions for earlier this year could come true.
That's true. It's very, very true. So
they're the guy already announced for that match that I said that based on his performance at Revolution could have just punched his ticket to the main event.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you for listening. As always, check out GearNetwork.com with all the great content the Gear Network puts out. For Dan, I'm Pat G. This has been the TTRP. Keep it locked, and we will see you on the flip side. The Turnbuckle Talk Radio podcast is brought to you by Gear Network and ShopGear.com. We can be listened to via Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and everywhere else you can get your podcasts. The TTRP introduction was done by Trevor Dugan. The show is hosted by Patrick Gancheski and Daniel Roberts. Post-production of the TTRP is done by Patrick Gancheski and John Cimino. If you'd like to follow us via social media, you can search Turnbuckle Talk Radio Podcast on Facebook. You can follow us at Twitter by using the name Turnbuckle_Talk. Or if you have questions or concerns, you can reach us via email at turnbuckletlkradio@gmail.com. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Turnbuckle Talk Radio Podcast, downloading our episodes, following us on social media, and interacting with us.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Do you like sports, interactive polls, friendly banter from two guys that probably shouldn't even be on the microphone doing this stuff anyways? Well, if you do, then you're in luck. Us two knuckleheads, Brandon and myself, comprise the Listen In podcast. That's right, Listen In, the podcast. We're talking sports, we're talking news, we're talking topical things, we're talking all sorts of things, my babies, and you are all invited to listen in right here on the Gear Radio Network.